It's that time of year again where we record and make videos about our theology papers. For my paper, I took a bit of a tricky subject. I decided to look at how God can call us and whether or not He knows the future in calling us. To do this, I had to take a page from the playbook of the Romans and divide and conquer. First, I decided to look at foreknowledge. As we have gone over in class, there are many different views that are floating out there on how God can know the future. In the interest of my paper, sanity, and time in general, I decided to settle on looking at the four talked about in Divine Foreknowledge, four views by Gregory Boyd, David Hunt, William Lane Craig, and Paul Helm. The four views discussed are the open theism view, the simple foreknowledge view, the middle knowledge view, and the Augustinian Calvinist view. The open theism view is one that we should not be strangers to. Open theism, as I talked about it, was the idea that God does not know the future, and through that, God would not know with any specificity where we could possibly do any good. The simple foreknowledge view is the view that God knows what is true, and that is all. That is all, and He cannot know any false ideas. This means that God only knows what will truly happen and no other possibilities. Crazy, right? The next view is the middle knowledge view. This is the view that I operated from. It says that God knows what would be in the future. He does not see what will be, or what could be, but what would be. Complicated, I know, but the book uses a good example to help make sense of this idea. The Augustinian Calvinist view is even more confusing, at least in my humble opinion. The Augustinian Calvinist view is that God's foreknowledge doesn't have to make sense with how we understand things, at least as I understand it. So this is saying that, we don't have to, we can't make sense of God's foreknowledge because it doesn't make sense for us, which in some points I suppose is true. But then that throws into the mix all kinds of ideas of what do you do with like free will or predestination, and ideas like that. It just kind of really throws that out the window. So those are the four views I looked at for this. And I did, as I said, I went under the middle knowledge view because that's the one that personally made the most sense to me. I decided to attack on my paper was the idea of what is and is not a call. And a call is anything that you have a passion for and that you feel God is leading you to do with your life. For example, all of us, we have a call to ministry of some sort. And it's because we feel God is leading us in this direction, and we have a passion for doing what we do, whether it's helping with children or hanging out with the teens in the youth group, or if you're like me and hanging out with the old folks. But a call is what brings passion into your life and that God is pulling you to do. For example, some people would say that they feel called to be teachers. Well, teachers aren't in a church building, and they aren't what we think of as formal ministry. They still can have that call because they still find great passion in going and teaching people and helping them find that clarity and new ideas and new subjects and making sense of the world. A call is not just somewhere you feel you're led to go. A call is also a lifestyle. For example, as people called to ministry, we aren't always going to have the easiest life. We're going to have to deal with helping families cope with someone dying or somebody that was injured, and we're going to have to go in the hospital and visit them, and they may be in just the roughest shape you can imagine. Or even the church starting to fall apart beneath our feet. But we get to do that sort of stuff. We get to be there to help people when their world is falling down, when they need someone to help stand with them because they just can't bring themselves together enough to find what they need to do to be okay again, to be right with God and right with each other. And of course, our call isn't always bad. We get to celebrate things like births, baptisms, if you're from certain denominations, confirmations, and getting to see people come to Christ and grow in crazy, amazing ways, and even come into the ministry, the call of ministry themselves, to take over our spot once we get old and retire. And that a call is a lifestyle brought about by being led to God in a direction somewhere that you have or you will learn to have passion for. And knowing that foreknowledge, as I've used it, is the idea of God knows what would be, not could be in the future, not what will be, but what would be in different situations depending on how we respond to it. We can begin to go to my last part, which is looking at how do these two ideas of foreknowledge and call fit together. And I came to the conclusion that God would have to know the possible future, what would be if we followed that call, in order to be able to call us. He would have to see that when I call them to this, it would lead to this, which would lead to this, which would lead to X person being brought to Christ, or whatever that next blank would be. So, to summarize, there are 4 views I looked at in the paper: open, simple, middle, and Augustinian Calvinist. And I chose the middle to operate under. A call is that lifestyle choice that you feel led to by God in an area that you'll have or will have great passion for. And in order for God to call us to that, He would have to know at least some possible nature of the future, that if I call them to this, this would be the outcome. Bye.